Here is what's coming up in today's Frontline compilation. 2 FPV strikes hit in Kharkiv. First a pickup, then a reported drone control point. Smoke rises as the lens lingers on what's left. ABTR coasts near Avdiivka before an unseen autocannon starts stitching tracer lines across its hull. Watch how quickly armor turns to shrapnel under precise 30mm fire. At an earthen berm, 2 Ukrainian infantrymen toss a grenade into a bunker and wait. The next heartbeat is a blur of blind fire, close quarters, and decisive aim. Shells pound Russian gun lines, while howitzers sit in the open. One gun tears apart, ammo flashes, smoke builds, and the camera lingers, daring you to guess what gets hit next. This is real footage, no effects, just raw moments from the battlefield. Subscribe to stay updated on every Frontline report and stick around to see it all unfold. Let's get into it. 6-story administrative block had become an ad hoc Russian barracks, its facade still painted with the white Z. For 2 days, Ukrainian sappers from the 129th Territorial Defense Brigade threaded 2 kilometers of shock tube through abandoned sewer line and packed each floor with 10 kilograms HMX charges. At dawn, a DJI Mavic 3T fitted with a loudhailer hovered outside the windows, ordering the occupants to surrender. They refused. One radio click later, the building folded in on itself, releasing a pressure wave felt 700 meters away. 9 days survivors staggered out and were cuffed within minutes. More surprises await the occupiers. 2 Russian combat engineers paddled inflatable rafts across the Siversky Donets before first light, hoping to sow TM-62 mines behind Ukrainian lines. Low summer water left the channel only waist deep, turning them into silhouettes for thermal optics. A drone team from the 59th Peaky Blinders Battalion tracked the splash of oars at 0520 and armed an RKG-1600 bomb. The grenade-sized warhead descended through morning mist, detonating a meter above the river and shredding both craft. Gear, mines, and lifeless bodies drifted downstream, betraying the entire infiltration plan. Ukrainian infantry moved to secure the bank, knowing the river will lure more hunters. From Kharkiv's tree lines to Mykolaiev's sunflower fields, the compilation tallies 11 Russian vehicles reduced to flash and smoke in 30 seconds. Operators from the 92nd Assault Brigade, call sign Kolodny Yar, pilot home-built Shark FPV drones, 3D printed airframes and stuffed with kilogram one-shaped charges. Targets range from a worn-out MTLB armored tractor to a lone T-62 turretless hull repurposed as a pillbox. Every detonation is recorded at 60 frames per second, each frame a ledger entry in Russia's dwindling motor pool. Observers note the average time between spot and strike has fallen below 4 minutes, and the pace keeps quickening. The 43rd Artillery Brigade's 2 S7 Pion rumbled out of a tree line east of Izium, its 203mm barrel nicknamed Peony for the petals of shrapnel it scatters. Forward observers whispered coordinates only 280 meters from a Ukrainian assault. A textbook danger-close mission. The 110kg HE round screamed 37 kilometers and landed with a crater wider than a tennis court, vaporizing the Russian bunker cluster and silencing 2 PKM nests. Crew doctrine allows one shot every 45 seconds. This battery fired 3 before reversing to a reserve site. Survivors on both sides now wonder when the next peony blooms. A lone Russian conscript picks a quiet trench bend near Kremina to wash mud off his face, stripping to the blue-striped VDV Telnyashka and boxer briefs. Overhead, a Ukrainian reconnaissance team flying an off-the-shelf Mavic 3 spots the pale silhouette against dark soil. They swap to a modified VOG 17 grenade fitted with tail fins and released from 30 meters. The blast peppered his lower legs with fragmentation. Adrenaline carries him 200 meters back toward friendly lines, dripping blood and holding one boot in his hand. Intercepted Russian comms later request a Kazan medevac, but drones still circle the latrine sector. At the shattered concrete span outside Sviatohursk, the Ukrainian Birds of Magyar detachment studied thermal feeds for 2 hours before the first Russian squad ventured onto the exposed deck. Because the nearest intact crossing lies 14 kilometers upstream, the invaders had no alternative but single-file movement over the wreckage. A pair of FPV drones armed with kilogram-class TG-1 charges orbited at 120 meters, diving only after 3 successive groups crowded the choke point. The confined blast reflected under the girders, turning the bridge into its own fragmentation chamber. Sensors show fresh heat signatures upstream. Another patrol is already on the way. Video from Ukraine's 44th Artillery Brigade shows shells hitting Russian gun lines. The camera follows D-30 and D-20 howitzers set in the open. One gun takes a direct hit and comes apart. An ammo pile explodes, throwing sparks and debris. After a few more shots, another gun is hit and knocked out. Smoke spreads along the line and small blasts keep popping in the background. The camera keeps watching the damaged positions. Footage from a Ukrainian reconnaissance quadcopter captures an off-screen BTR-4E infantry fighting vehicle employing its ZTM 130mm cannon against a Russian BTR-80 and dismounted troopers northwest of Avdiivka. The ZTM-1 fires at 330 rounds per minute. In the 18-second clip, observers counted 96 impacts, most high-explosive incendiary. Notably, the gunner walked the burst across a 12-meter frontage. A textbook beaten zone pattern designed at the Kharkiv-Morozov Bureau. 3 Russians attempted to drag a casualty behind the BTR-80, then disappeared in a final orange flash. The quadcopter hovers, waiting for any movement. weeks, Ukrainian electronic warfare troops from the 71st Jaeger Brigade modified DJI Phantom bodies to carry a 200-gram detonator and park them silently at bunker entrances along the Mokry-Yali line. On average, it took Russian sentries 46 seconds to approach the foreign drone and scoop it inside for inspection, according to time-stamped telemetry shared later. The kill switch exploited that curiosity with an overpressure burst equivalent to 3 VOG-17 grenades, more than enough to rupture eardrums in a confined trench. Operators report they still have 40 of the devices charged and waiting. In Lyman's forest belt, 2 riflemen of Ukraine's 63rd Mechanized Brigade crawled to within 15 meters of a timber-roofed foxhole. They lobbed an F1 grenade, expecting the Russian inside to cower. Instead, he vaulted out, firing a 5.45mm volley that clipped branches overhead. The Ukrainian point man answered with 7 blind shots from an M4 carbine fitted with suppressor and IR laser. Then adjusted right and delivered the final round as the Russian tried to re-enter the bunker. Helmet cam audio captures the squad leader ordering an immediate drone reconnaissance of adjacent pits. Echoes suggest more defenders nearby. North of Kupiansk, the 414th Drone Brigade, call sign Wormbusters, hunts artillery like grubs beneath soil. Helmet cam feed shows pilots guiding MJ-1 FPV drones through a wheat stubble canopy until the infrared bloom of a 2S1 Gvozdika howitzer appears. The first kamikaze pierces the open engine deck, igniting propellant racks. A second drone dives into a nearby MTLB ammo carrier, detonating boxed 120mm shells in a chain of yellow pops. Radio intercepts catch Russian crews screaming for smoke cover. Wormbusters log 3 guns neutralized in 8 minutes and bank east. Thermal scopes reveal fresh tracks begging to be mined. Helmet cam video shows a Russian soldier running straight toward the lens. The Ukrainian fires at very close range and the attacker falls. The Ukrainian moves in, keeps the muzzle on the target, and checks the body. He searches the vest and pockets, takes a few items, then scans the area and backs to cover. The camera stays low, holding on the approach route for any movement. It's a brief, raw moment. Point-blank contact, a quick search for gear, and a tense pause in case someone else appears. Another camera mounted on a Czech-supplied CZ Bren. 2 follows the same tactical operations group as they advance along Solidar's flooded tram tunnel, water lapping over boot soles. A Serbian volunteer nicknamed Drina indicates movement by tapping the tunnel wall twice. Sound travels clearly under the arched concrete moments later. A Russian pair emerges from an alcove lit only by chem lights. Automatic fire at 7 meters ricochets off rail ties, forcing both sides to crawl behind tipping wagons. The TOG team tosses a Polish RG-42 concussion grenade, its echo masking footfalls as they press forward, unsure what waits beyond the bend. FPV drone video from the Russian KVN unit shows 2 strikes in the Kharkiv region. The first hits a pickup truck with a cover over the bed and blows the rear apart. The second strike is reported to be a forward drone control point. The drone flies in and detonates on the position. Smoke rises from both targets and the view holds on the damage. Russian footage showcases the new Scarab M remote crawler, a 3-ton tracked chassis repurposed from surplus MTLB bogies, its flatbed stacked with 2 PT-M1 anti-tank mines wired in series. In the clip, the Scarab lurches 600 meters across the Zaporizhia, Stepan operator, steering by encrypted microwave relay that bounces off defunct TV towers. 50 meters from a suspected Ukrainian bunker, a Lancet loitering munition dives, but the crawler's roof-mounted jammer briefly scrambles. Guidance. A backup Mavic recon drone spots the distraction and drop fires an RKG-1600 straight onto the mines. The double blast cartwheels the Scarab, proving the design lethal, yet still vulnerable. Near Novomikhailivka, a lone Russian private lay prone in a trench no wider than a drainage ditch, pinned by sniper fire. A Ukrainian Mavic 3 Classic hovered overhead, its operator from the 56th Motor Infantry Brigade aligning crosshairs with a sandbag as reference. The drone released an F1 grenade fitted with fins. Gravity dropped it square onto the soldier's chest plate. He managed a half twist and lobbed it behind his head, but the short fuse detonated mid-air, shredding the narrow trench with fragments. A nearby drone now pans south. Another firing slit hides untouched defenders. Drone video shows Russian infantry taking repeated FPV strikes in open ground and shallow trenches. Small groups move between shell holes and thin tree lines. Drones dive and explode among them, leaving craters, scattered gear, and several figures not moving. Others crawl or try to pull a wounded man before another blast lands nearby. Smoke spreads and dust kicks up along the trench edges. The strikes keep coming in short bursts, with short pauses in between. The camera holds on the area, waiting for any sign of movement. GoPro video from Russian sources shows an FPV drone near-miss wounding a Russian soldier on a road. He moves to the side, takes cover at what looks like an abandoned trench, and starts first aid with what he has. He presses on the wound and adjusts the wrap more than once. He keeps scanning the road and the sky for another drone and stays low behind the edge of the trench. The camera lingers on his hands as he works, and then holds on the empty road ahead. North of Kherson, bodycam footage tracks a soldier engulfed in flames rolling downhill toward a flooded irrigation pond. Analysts say his Moskvich's fuel tank erupted when a Lancet fragment pierced it. Discarding scorched kit as ammunition cooks off, he plunges into neck-deep water that hisses and steams. Thermal cameras show his heat signature dim but still alive. Medics debate whether phosphorus burns or hypothermia will claim him first, setting Overwatch to record through the night. Darkness settles. Bubbles rise, reeds sway, yet no figure emerges. Drone footage shows the 3rd Assault Brigade's Karakurt colony breaching Russian trenches near Nadia in Luhansk. Orders switch between Albanian and Ukrainian as a BMP-2 hammers the line. Sappers push satchel charges into dugouts, collapsing beams and forcing defenders up. Where designated marksmen with Scar H rifles finish the fight. A captured sketch points to a second trench line roughly 400 meters east. The assault group reloads and shifts to the tree belt, expecting counterfire from the next position and preparing to press on. That's today's raw footage. No filters, no fluff. This is M6 Archive, always first on the front lines. Subscribe and share if you want more.